Hi, my name's Kim. I am a specialized Chinese medical provider and Taoist practitioner, and this channel is all about you, sharing with you information and solutions from the ancient Chinese cabinet of healing remedies and helping you learn how to use those solutions in your everyday life. Today, I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest healthcare challenges facing you today. And the biggest healthcare challenge facing you is becoming your own personal patient advocate. Today, I'm going to be talking about what a personal patient advocate is, why it's important, when to start using it, and I'm going to give you an easy template on how to start doing it. So let's get started. Those of you who have taken on the role of an unpaid caregiver for your family or friends have probably already had exposure to being a patient advocate. That role was more like a trial by fire. You didn't really know you had to take on that role until you tried to get adequate health care. And then, like so many things in caregiving, it was all hands on deck until you could figure it out and get it taken care of. For those of you who haven't had the experience of being a personal patient advocate, here's your opportunity to get introduced to it gently. The first thing is wrapping a definition around what a patient advocate is. You've already had experience with patient advocacy groups like AARP and American Heart Association who work directly with industry to champion change. But industry challenges have expanded the definition of patient advocacy to include advocating for the individual, for their comprehensive medical care, and for billing management. In caregiving, probably the first responsibility to show up was medical care. And that included things like finding the right doctors, scheduling the appointments, getting them to their appointments, making sure all their information was reviewed and shared, understanding the options, helping them make decisions on their options, making sure to make the follow-up appointments, getting their medications. And it didn't just stop there. There was a whole insurance billing side, which was making sure that it was even covered by their insurance, making sure that if they needed a referral, that you had the right referral and that that was documented, understanding the billing and understanding the patient payments, negotiating price reductions. There is a huge umbrella that encompasses what it means to be a personal patient medical advocate. And when it came to receiving medical care, you found it essential to carry a folder with their medical history, their medications, and their current goals. You found yourself doing a lot of research because in order to get the best treatment options, you had to come prepared to ask specific questions, to get specific advice and directions. You had to share your information and concerns in order to reach broader option bases. And you needed to know your and the person you were caregiving, you needed to understand what their values, their goals, and their objectives were, because that can change your treatment options. It felt like you needed to have a bachelor's in a science that hasn't been defined yet. It's something like patient medical management. And what happened to the medical system? There was a time when being a doctor was as close to being a god as you could get. And many of them went into the profession with a goal of saving lives, saving someone from a disease, saving someone from suffering. It was a noble goal. And it wasn't just a few decades ago that we still had small towns with small doctor offices, and these doctors knew their patients. They might have been there at your birth and maybe at your parents' passing. They had time for their patients. When my mother came to live with me, one of my first responsibilities was finding her a primary care physician. And I had an option of a local small town doctor or driving a half hour to one of the larger HMO PPO facilities. The benefits of the local small town doctor outweighed the expanded care benefits offered in the larger HMO PPO facilities. it was the absolute right decision. From the start, he made it a very personal experience. He went out of his way to learn about critical things in my mother's life, and he would remember them. My mother loved going to talk to him, and he was just great with her. I never would have gotten that in a larger facility. The turnover in a larger facility would have ensured that her care would have been managed through a folder with multiple professionals and multiple goals. Increases in specialization would have meant that even if I was able to centralize her care to one facility, her care would have been managed separately, even if an issue came up. The administrative burden of working in a corporate hospital today would have guaranteed that the attention given to doctoring would have to be split into a lot of things that have nothing to do with doctoring, such as understanding new business processes, understanding new computer systems, staff meetings, job reviews, insurance billing. Add to that corporate metrics, which rarely allow your doctor to get to know you. And these are going to be metrics such as having to keep a book of 2,000 plus patients a year or being limited to 15-minute office visits. And all of these things were implemented to enable the facility to efficiently turn over the number of patients necessary to cover facility costs and administrative staff. But here's the thing. I think that 50% of doctoring is knowing your patient. The ability to see abnormal changes in your health and wellness rests on their ability to understand what's normal in you. I grew up in rural America when family farms still produced the majority of our food. Every farmer knew their livestock. They spent every day with their livestock and knew how each of them interacted and how they ate. And because they knew their livestock so well, they immediately understood when something was wrong. Knowing who you're working with is at least half of doctoring, because the way to understand abnormal behavior is through understanding what typical behavior is. I had a patient who was in the middle of a stroke and went to ER, and the doctor ran some tests and discharged them. My patient called me to talk about it, and I told them they had to get back to the ER, convince the doctor to run more tests and do more follow-up. And I said that because I knew this patient and I knew their symptoms were completely wrong. But how does a doctor who doesn't know my patient distinguish my patient's symptoms from non-life-threatening symptoms of dizziness, disorientation, and confusion when the incidence of stroke is something like 1 in 1,000? How do they pick that needle out of a haystack? That's why you need to start now learning how to be your patient advocate, because being your advocate is about helping your medical professionals understand when something's abnormal and needs extraordinary follow-up. It's about ensuring you get the depth of care necessary to maintain and improve your health. For those of you who have started to realize that the role of provider has changed to one of a professional wellness consultant, you're already starting to make that change. And I don't know how many providers have made this transition. I have noticed that the younger generation of providers and alternative care providers are more likely to tailor their delivery in this manner in order to get the feedback from their clients and deliver optimum care. If this is a type of delivery you're working in, then learning a new skill set is going to help you better manage and direct your healthcare. And learning just a little bit about medicine will help you open up a whole dialogue with your provider and get them thinking about options for you. I've found that providers are really open to questions and giving feedback as long as they can understand the problem. Have you ever talked to somebody from another country and had difficulty understanding what they were saying or asking? I was in France and I thought I was speaking perfectly adequate French, but nobody could understand what I was saying. Sometimes that's how your medical professional will be with you, because they can't understand your question. Learning to review some of your common test results with your doctor is a great opportunity to start getting the best decisions for you. I have a great blog out on my website, Who Says You Have to Be Serious? Learn to Love Life Early and Find Joy. In it, it talks about what doctors tell you versus what's going on. And sometimes people just don't want to know what's going on, right? And even I'm guilty of that. When I had an acupuncturist working on my back, they told me, hey, if you stop riding horse, it will go a lot faster. And I was like, hey, thank you. Okay, bye. See you next week. Because I knew I was going to continue riding horse and that I didn't want to hear that. So there's all sorts of reasons why people don't want to hear what's really going on. But if you're somebody who truly wants to know what's going on with your health, you're going to be in a better position if you learn how to ask for their professional opinion instead of letting them tell you what they think you want to hear. My mother had suffered a slow brain bleed, and that had her in ER. Her doctor called to talk to me about her case. I used the questions in my blog, Top 5 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Treatment, as a framework to help determine the best option for my mother based on her values and objectives. I'll put a link to that blog in the video description below. We talked for about 45 minutes, and in the end, I felt that we came up with the best solution. There are other aspects to being a patient advocate. Finding the best medical provider is one of them. And finding the best medical provider is a big deal. I have always been amazed at people who will go to the first person on the list provided by the insurance company. That's how you get bad knee surgeries, over-medicated, and a whole lot of other things. And with the rapid turnover in the medical profession today and the closed to new patients, I've always found that you need to find at least 5 options in order to get one. Those are some of the examples of the many different aspects of being your own personal patient advocate and why being a patient advocate is becoming the most critical part of getting excellent health care from any provider today. When you're ready to become your own patient advocate, one of the first things you're going to want to do is find more than one provider type. And to give you an example, Western medicine is really focused on pharmacy and surgery to improve your quality of life. And naturopaths are really focused on lifestyle and natural ingredients to improve your quality of life and restore your health. Chinese medicine is really focused on lifestyle and natural ingredients and treatments to improve your quality of life and restore your health. If you're curious why more than one opinion is important, check out my vlog, Finding Balance, the reciprocal link between mindfulness and Taoism, exercises to use in your everyday life. And at about minute 5 is a great section on truth. I'm going to put a link to that vlog in the video description below. The next thing you're going to want to do is find support through this process. You're going to want to bounce things off of somebody, whether it's online or in person. And I know I play this role for my clients. I know the doctor in town plays this role for his clients. Sometimes your friends are not the best option because they're vested in the health they want for you and not the health that you want for yourself. And again, go back to my blog, Who Says You Need to Be Serious? Learn to love life early and find joy. After that, the second thing you're going to want to do is identify the specific issue. Whether it's high blood pressure, bladder infection, or pain, or some other issue, it's always a specific issue, and it's usually what you're going in for. And when you've identified those 2 things, the third thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start pre-planning your questions. And again, my blog on top 5 questions to ask your doctor about your treatment is a great start. It gives you a great framework. It doesn't cover every issue out there, but it does get you started. And when those things have been completed, you're going to want to start doing your research. You're going to want to research what tests are out there for your situation. What do they tell you and what do they do about your treatment? I never thought I was going to have to put a vlog out here on, so you think you have a bladder infection, what to know before you go see your doctor. But in the last few months, I'm starting to think that I do. The tests help identify a cause and help identify your treatment options. And sites like this can give you some insight in your research and what you're looking for and what you're going to ask your doctor. There you have it. An introduction to being your own patient advocate. And the goals of this episode were to identify what a patient advocate is, why it's so important, when to start, and give you a simple template outline on how to start becoming your own patient advocate. Okay guys, until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.